and welcome to the Rose System. My name is Vin. My name is Violet, and today Vin and I are looking at what it means to be a fictive. So what is a fictive? A fictive is an author who is based upon a fictional character. Movies, TV shows, books, comics, depending on their fictional character, depends on what they look like and all this kind of stuff. Who am I? My name is Vin. I am based upon Vin from The Final Empire, which is a novel by Brandon Sanderson. Who am I? I am Violet Evergarden, and I am based upon Violet Evergarden, the anime TV series. How did I split and gain my identity? I split when the body was in high school, around about I started to form around 14 and fully gained my identity when the body was about 16. Sarah needed an escape, and she found her escape in the Final Empire. She related to Vin even though she had no idea why. And so I formed to take on Vin's identity so that we had someone internal who reflected that character that was so significant for Sarah. How did I split gain my identity? I initially split when the body was a teenager, but I didn't gain my identity until I was an adult and we watched the TV series and everything just kind of came together. I was like, oh, there we go. Before then, I was, I don't know how to describe it. I didn't have a form. I was more of a emotion that would overtake Sarah and control Sarah into doing what was needed. I would write letters, so I would sit Sarah down and have Sarah write and help her write what she was needing to get out. And so for a very long time before watching Violet Evergarden, whenever Sarah needed a letter to be written, I would be the one to guide her as she wrote it. And now that I have my identity, which I gained in adulthood, I was like, here's someone I can be. And, I do the interpreting for Sarah now. I'm the one who writes, but Sarah passes me the vibes and I write on her behalf. So that's how I gained my identity. What is source separation? Source separation is the removal of one's identity and sense of self from source material. So understanding that whilst I am based upon Vin from the Final Empire, I am not Vin. Not as she's written, not as she's experienced in Brandon Sanderson's mind. What is source separation? Source separation is the removal of the source from who you are. So accepting the fact that you are not your source, and that whilst you have memories and things from your source, you don't you're not the source itself. You're not in that world. You're in this world. You're in a world where your sense of identity is fictional rather than real. It's complicated and stressful. Have I so separated? Yes, I was never fully entrenched in my identity as Vin. I always knew I was an alter. I always knew that I wasn't the person. I was never fully entrenched in the memories of being Vin. I do have memories, but I always knew I wasn't in terms of what Brandon Sanderson had in mind. I knew I was based upon Vin, but that ability to recognize the difference was always there for me. Not every fictive has that. Some fictives in some systems fully believe that they are their source material. They don't experience outside life normally. When they are fronting, they see themselves, whereas when I front, I see the body little jarring. It's a little dysphoric. Particularly nowadays, it was a little less dysphoric at the time that I formed. Have I source separated? Yes. In that I formed before I knew my source. And so my early memories are memories of the real world. My early memories are complex in that I don't have a sense of identity in my early memories, but I was still me. And being able to take on the identity of Violet has been very helpful in giving me a sense of self, but I am not I'm not attached to my source as some fictives are. It's tricky. What's it like having memories of things that didn't happen? Is trippy. I have memories of things that Vin went through in the novel that obviously didn't happen in real life. And some of them are very much cemented. I remember training with Kelsey. I remember the day I met Kelsey and Doc. And I can remember, it's a little bit of a graphic one, and so trigger warning for physical abuse here. This didn't happen to the body, this happens in the source material. Having the chair broken over my back, I can remember that sensation and that feeling as he, tried to end me. And then Elsie and Doxson coming in and, emotions being played with and hiding under the table, and it is fascinating. Having these memories of things. I remember things from childhood that aren't explicitly stated in the Final Empire. In the Final Empire, Vin has knowledge on things that happened to her when she was a toddler, whereas I remember those things, whereas Vin in the novel doesn't remember those things. But I do, because, yeah, it's fascinating. As in, I remember my mother piercing my ear. Vin in the novel doesn't remember that, but I do. And they feel so real. But at the same time, I'm able to differentiate between things that actually happen to the body and things that came from my source. Do I miss anyone or anything from my source material? Very much so. I miss Doc. I miss Spook. It's really tricky. I miss Kelsier less. Because we do have a Kelsier fictive as well. He's in dormancy. But, you know, I will see him again one day, or at least there's a chance I'll see him again one day because, you know, he runs around here. He's currently in dormancy. He's the life that we live now. He's not necessary. Although it would be fun to have him back. But you know, I'm never going to see Spook. I'm never going to see Doc. Or any of the other crew. Marsh and her. I also miss the scenery. This world is so bright and colourful, and it's strange to me because I'm used to the red, I'm used to the grey, I'm used to the black. I hate to say it, but I miss the balls, and I miss Ellen and dancing with him. Unlike Finn, I'm asexual. I don't feel sexual or romantic attraction, and so that memory of Ellen, of him and I being partners, just doesn't quite comprehend. But I miss him. I miss the intelligent conversations that we had. So there's a lot that I do miss. But I understand that that's just the way it is. What's it like having memories of things that didn't happen? It's confusing. You know, I have memories of the war, which is very strange in that it's a fictional war that never actually occurred, but I remember it. I find it strange being able to remember the major and being able to remember the post office where I would sit and write letters, and remembering to write letters on behalf of people who never actually existed. But I think it's helpful because it gives me a sense of who I am and my role. What's it like interacting with my source material? It's euphoric. You know, I see myself written on the page and I feel heard and seen, and it's really good. It's really helpful. The sense of familiarity and being able to scratch the itch of being reminded of where I come from and who I am. What is it like interacting with my source material? It's confusing. I will be doing my own thing and then I'll get drawn to the front and watch elements of my life play out before me. And it's okay. What interacting with my source material helps me refine who I am which is really strange, but it's like a refresher on who I am, but I don't need it. It's confusing. Despite, being one of the more eloquent people in this system, I struggle. I struggle to word the connection that you have with your source material and what watching it does for you. It helps you feel known and seen, which is insane. Do I miss anyone or anything from my source material? Believe it or not, I miss my hands. I miss, a little bit trigger warning for body horror, I guess you could say. In my source material, my hands up to my elbows. No, it goes right up my arm. It's been a while since then, and I'm so used to this body that it is a little blurry. So my arms and my hands have been replaced with machinery and prosthetics, and it's metal, and I have control over it. But it is strange being in a body where we don't wear gloves, and I have flesh instead of metal. And that is strange for me, because these hands are very soft. They're not calloused like my hands would have been if I was based upon who I was during the war. It's strange, and I miss the Major and the others who worked at the postal office. I miss working with the dolls. But it's strange that the thing I miss most are my mechanical hands. How does being a fictive interact with my and the body's faith? Complicated, to say the least. The body and the vast majority of the altars in our system are Christian. I'm skeptical of religion. It's something I've inherited from the book. I see the benefits of it in the altars who, actively interact with their faith. But I've also seen what people have done in the name of God, and I struggle with that. And Sarah is able to make peace with that. Sarah has the ability to not question God despite what his people do. I struggle with that because, yes, there's a lot of good that people who claim to be Christian do, but there's also a lot of evil, and I don't think they cancel each other out. I don't think you can blanket statements say, oh, the vast majority of Christians are good, or the vast majority of Christians are bad. I think Christians, whilst free from sin, still do sin, us included. We try not to do harm, but we do end up harming people anyway. Like, despite our best efforts, it happens. My source has a really warped sense of religion in that everything was controlled by a dictator man who claimed to be God, and Christianity is not that, but some Christians do turn it into that, and so I struggle with it. I feel that my source material impacts my faith. I don't think it's necessarily healthy. There is an element of skepticism needed to ensure that, you know, you're actually engaging with it. And, you know, Sarah hears my skepticism and responds to it and thinks on it and prays on it and comes to peace with it, whereas I'm not yet ready for that to happen. I do think some Christians have warped it into something other than what it ought to be. So I guess you could say I am a follower of Jesus, but I don't relate to the label of Christian because modern Christianity has some flaws. I don't know, it's complex. How does being a fictive interact with my faith and the body's faith? It's my role is to help process emotions. And some of the emotions that we need to process are ones that surround our faith. And so I do my best to remain impartial and help with the emotional processing and helping. I see the importance of faith, and I guess you could say I believe, but my role is more to do with the processing of emotions and the processing of concepts rather than having an opinion on them myself. So faith is so important to the body and so important to the system, and it's a good thing. I am a little removed from it because I do need to remain impartial so that I can help process the emotions. The gaining of my identity enabled me to do my job better. So that is the questions that Sarah asked me to go through. Thank you for watching. We hope this video has given you a little bit of insight. Many systems have very different experiences to us. This is just our experience. The differences that systems experience and all this kind of stuff is really unique. Thank you for watching. We hope this video helped you. Please like and subscribe. It will help us continue to reach more people. And let us know in the comments about your experiences as a fictive or your questions about being fictives, and that would be good because if you add questions about being a fictive, we're coming up to 500 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible. And if you and we'll be able to answer some of these questions because we'll be able to do a proper Q&A and sit down and answer the various questions, and different altars can come out to answer questions that are specific to them. So let us know your questions in the comments below and we will see if we can include them in our 500 subscriber Q&A video. Please know you are loved by the incredible God of the universe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.